everyone. Welcome to today's Bookkeeping Pros podcast.
Welcome, listener. We're doing a deep dive today into a financial metric that is, I think, absolutely critical for managing cash flow, but it's one that often gets, a bit simplified. We're talking about the cash conversion cycle, or CCC.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites because it truly defines a business's financial metabolism. You can forget the income statement for just a moment. The CCC, that measures the actual pulse of your cash.
The pulse of your cash, I like that.
And if you're not actively monitoring it, you're effectively running blind when it comes to liquidity. Our mission today is really to give you a detailed understanding of how efficiently your business turns capital spent back into capital received.
That's a fantastic way to frame it. It's about the velocity of money, but inside your own four walls. So our goal is to really dissect the components, understand the trade-offs, which can be pretty high stakes, and then give you the levers to actually gain control.
Exactly, because the CCC is basically the number of days that your capital is tied up, inaccessible, and therefore unable to be deployed.
And that number of days, that duration, that's what determines your financial independence, isn't it?
It's a profound determinant, yeah.
Yeah.
A long cycle means you're more dependent on external capital.
Yeah.
We're talking lines of credit, bank loans, investors, just to cover that working capital gap.
Right.
A shorter cycle, on the other hand, is like having an internal interest-free financing mechanism. It's your own money working for you.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The CCC is built from three specific components. And when you look at the formula, it seems, elegantly simple. It's just adding two things and subtracting a third.
It is simple on the surface.
Yeah.
But, like always in finance, the simplicity of the equation hides some immense strategic complexity.
Of course.
The complexity is really in managing those three components all at the same time.
Yeah.
The core formula is CCC equals days inventory outstanding, or DIO, plus days sales outstanding, DSO, minus days payable outstanding, DPO.
DIO plus DSO minus DPO.
Got it. And that calculation gives you a single number. It's a time period in days that spans from the moment you buy raw materials to the moment the customer's cash actually hits your bank.
And what's so crucial here is context, right? There's no magical number, no 30 days is the perfect CCC for every single business out there.
Absolutely not. The optimal CCC value is intensely industry specific. You just cannot compare a retail clothing store to, say, a custom shipbuilding company. It wouldn't make any sense.
Very different models.
Totally. The source really emphasizes that benchmarking is key. A manufacturer, with long production times, is always going to have a larger CCC than a fast-moving grocery store.
So the goal isn't just shrinking the number to zero, even though that would be amazing.
Imagine the purchasing power.
Exactly. The goal is to be best in class within your specific field and, I guess, just keep improving on your own numbers year after year.
That's it, precisely. The ultimate objective is always a shorter cash cycle. It means your business holds on to its liquid cash for longer. And that liquidity, that translates directly into better negotiating power, maybe taking early payment discounts from vendors, and critically less reliance on expensive debt.
Okay, let's start with that first piece then. Days Inventory Outstanding, or DIO. What exactly is this measuring, and who really needs to pay attention to it?
DIO measures the average number of days your inventory just sits there before it's sold. It tracks how long cash is essentially immobilized. It's trapped in raw materials, or work in process, or just finished goods sitting on a shelf.
So if you're running, say, a consulting firm or a pure software as a service company, you might think, well, this doesn't apply to me.
That's a critical point, but it's one that I think invites a little deeper thought. So yes, pure service businesses technically have a DIO of 0. But many of them still face an equivalent challenge. Their cash isn't tied up in physical widgets, but it's tied up in, work in process through unbilled hours.
Bookkeepingpros.com.
I see. So the time between paying a developer salary and actually billing the client for that developer's work.
Exactly. You can think of that as a kind of shadow DIO. It's still a drag on your working capital.
That completely shifts the perspective. It's about any kind of unutilized capital, whether it's physical or human. But for businesses with actual physical inventory, a high DIO, that's a huge financial stress.
It's capital immobility. A high DIO means money is illiquid. It's static inventory, not dynamic cash. And it's not just the opportunity cost. A high DIO carries a big risk of, obsolescence, spoilage, or needing costly markdowns later. That cash isn't just sitting in your warehouse.
It's losing value.
It's depreciating in your warehouse. That's the key.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting because the second that inventory is sold, the whole game changes. You shift from managing physical things to managing, well, financial promises. Which brings us to the second component, days sales outstanding, or DSO.
Right. DSO is the measure of your collection efficiency. It's all about credit risk management. It tracks the average number of days it takes for customers who bought on credit to actually pay you.
And if you're a business that only takes cash or immediate credit card payments, your DSO is basically 0, which, is the dream scenario.
It's the dream, but for most B2B operations, extending credit is a commercial necessity. You have to do it.
Right.
And that creates this optimization tightrope walk. You want the DSO number as small as possible. I mean, every day of delay is an opportunity cost for you.
Yeah.
But you have to balance that aggression with not losing sales to competitors who might offer better terms.
So the CFO and the head sales are just in a constant state of tension over payment terms.
Perpetually. But what about modern techniques like receivables factoring? If a company just sells its receivables to a third party, their DSO shrinks immediately, right? Sometimes dramatically.
That's an excellent point. Factoring is a tactical solution. It's a way to artificially shorten the DSO and get liquidity right away. It solves the immediate cash flow problem.
But it comes at a cost.
For sure. That discount rate eats right into your margins. And our source material seems to suggest that while factoring is, an option, the real strategic goal is operational efficiency. It's about improving your own internal collection processes so you don't need to pay someone else to manage your cash gap.
Precisely. You want to manage both your liquidity needs and your customer relationships at the same time. True strategic improvement is internal.
Now for that final component, days payable outstanding, DPO. This is the one that gets subtracted from the total, which makes it a lever for extending the cycle. What's the strategy here?
DPO measures the average number of days you take to pay your own vendors. And because it's subtracted from the DIO plus DSO total, the goal is strategic maximization. You want to take as many days as possible to settle your accounts.
So if DIO and DSO are about how fast cash comes in, DPO is about how effectively you use your vendor's money as a kind of interest-free loan.
That's exactly right. You're maximizing the float the time your cash stays liquid and available for your own operational expenses.
Yeah.
But this strategy is, fraught with risk if it's mismanaged.
I was going to say, this sounds dangerous.
It can be. The source stresses this has to be done without making the relationship with your vendors suffer.
Yeah.
Pushing DPO too aggressively can erode trust. You could lose trade discounts, or worst of all, vendors could start deprioritizing your orders. That threatens your whole supply chain.
So there's a fine line between smart cash management and just becoming a bad client that nobody wants to work with.
It's the art of negotiation.
Bookkeepingpros.com.
A healthy DPO shows sophisticated cash management. It gives you essential capital without you having to go to a bank, which lowers your overall borrowing costs.
So when we put all three together, DIO, DSO, and DPO, what's the big takeaway about business vulnerability? The source has a pretty stark warning, even for successful companies.
This is the critical warning. This is what trips up so many high-growth companies. The conclusion is just crystal clear. You could be profitable on paper and still choke on cash if this cycle is mismanaged.
Profitable and bankrupt at the same time.
It happens. Profitability is an accounting concept recognizing revenue when it's earned. But solvency, that depends on actual cash in the bank. If your CCC is excessively long, you just won't have the liquidity to meet immediate obligations like payroll.
So a company could be doing great, selling a ton, good margins, but one big customer pays late and suddenly they're facing an existential crisis.
Precisely.
Yep.
And a long CCC also means you're more exposed to volatility, like interest rate hikes. You have to finance that working capital gap, and if rates go up, the cost of that financing goes up, and your margin shrinks instantly.
Okay, so because of that exposure, the source says you absolutely have to look at the CCC metric alongside the cash flow statement.
It's non-negotiable.
Why that pairing specifically?
The CCC gives you the efficiency metric, the time frame. It tells you how long your money is out of your hands. The cash flow statement, that provides the volume and movement of that cash. Analyzing them together gives you a full-blown vision of the cash management performance.
So it shows you not just how efficient you are, but whether that efficiency is actually translating into real usable cash.
Exactly.
Okay, so for the listener who's now ready to move from theory to action, The source gives some really specific tactical steps for each component. Let's go through those.
Let's do it. Starting with accounts receivable to shrink DSO. We need to go beyond just stating payment terms clearly. First, you could use technology for dynamic discounting. Incentivize customers to pay early. Offering, say, 1% off for payment in 10 days can be cheaper than financing that receivable for 60 days.
So you're actively managing and not just waiting for the money to come in.
Active management, yes. Second, automate your collection follow-up. Prioritize it based on the client relationship and their payment history.
Yeah.
Reviewing AR once a month is often not enough. High-volume businesses should be looking at their aging schedule weekly.
Right, catching problems before they become catastrophic. What about inventory? How do we stop cash from just stagnating in the warehouse?
For inventory, the key is accuracy and disciplined disposal. You have to manage inventory levels closely.
Yeah.
Link your purchasing much more tightly to accurate sales forecasts to avoid overstocking. And more structurally, implement a rigorous excess and obsolete or inventory control system. This means not just identifying items that won't sell, but actively getting rid of them.
Yeah.
Liquidate them, scrap them, donate them. Keeping dead stock is financially irresponsible.
Okay, and finally, accounts payable, the DPO, where the strategy is that calculated delay. How do we negotiate that effectively?
Your leverage here is consistency and volume. You can negotiate tiered payment terms, maybe standard terms for small buys, but extended terms for high-volume purchases. And use trade credit strategically. If a vendor offers you $210 net 30, you have to do the math. Is giving up that 2% discount worth keeping the cash for an extra 20 days?
Often it's not.
Often it's not.
Right.
The return on keeping the cash might be lower than the value of that discount.
Yeah.
It's all about informed negotiation and respecting that it's a two-way relationship.
Which brings us full circle back to this idea of balance. You're trying to speed up the front end of the cycle DIO and DSO while strategically slowing down the back end with DPO.
It's the sophisticated management of those three different timelines that defines your success. And that success is measurable. It's measurable in immediate financial independence. What's fascinating here is CCC is more than just an accounting metric. It's a measure of your operating health. It shows how well your production, sales, and procurement teams are all synchronized. And the more cash you keep by shortening that cycle, the greater your purchasing power becomes, and the less you have to rely on external debt.
Yeah.
And that, I think, raises a really important question for anyone listening.
Okay.
If you successfully shave, say, 15 days off your CCC, and that generated $1 million in new working capital,
Right.
how could you use that newly freed up cash flow to fundamentally transform your business model and just leap ahead of your competition?
That's something for you to mull or explore on your own. It moves this whole conversation from just operational efficiency to, well, true business evolution. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the cash conversion cycle.